Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Friday, January 20th. It's our college basketball edition. And like every Friday afternoon, we're going to be joined by Mr. Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net to discuss a couple games on the Saturday college basketball board. Without further ado, let me first bring in my man, Sean. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good. I mean, listen, 144 college basketball games tomorrow, but why do I think that people don't care about two games and it's not even basketball games that people will be worried about tomorrow?
Well, I think that that's a pretty accurate assessment. But having said that, there are still the sports bettors out there who have nothing to do between noon and 4:30. So I'm sure they're looking for some action. And those who are true sports bettors, they don't have to watch the game to bet on it. They take your advice, which a
That's
lot of
it.
people don't get. They'll say, I'm not even going to watch that game. Well, who cares? You
You don't
know,
have to watch it.
you
Bet
don't
it
have
and
to.
forget it.
Do you invest in stocks? And if they tell me yes, well, do you keep an eye on your stock all night long? Do you get any sleep? Come on, man. You
No,
wake up in the morning and then you check it.
you're
You
not you're just
you're
you're not
not
sitting
that
outside Disney World with your Disney stock standing outside all the time.
yeah, you're not that powerful, man. You can't control certain things in life, and that's certainly not one of them. If indeed that's possible. Anyway, NFL playoffs are upon us. We're going to talk college basketball. Sean is going to take a look at the UCLA and Arizona game. Really good Pac 12 matchup with national implications. And I'm going to look at the rivalry game between NC State and North Carolina. But before we get to that, Sean, tell the folks a little bit more about your podcast, how you've been doing of late, what you may have coming up this weekend.
Yeah, podcasts every day, 12 noon, midday money, 7 days a week. Check it out. It's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube on Picks and Parlays or Winning Free Picks. Also on my Twitter, Mr. Sean Higgs. But any podcast where you go to, wherever you watch your podcasts, whatever outlet, you just type in midday money and voila. Now, obviously, that's loaded up after the fact. It's not live like I do every day, but it's a fun show, a lot of free picks. And going forward, well, NFL season, only a couple weeks left, but I'm going to be sad to see it go when you're hitting 60 something percent. But again, I was talking to Kyle Hunter. I'm like, I didn't like talking about it, Kyle. I don't want to even brag that you're doing good. I just want to just get through the season having a great year and just relish the fact. So I'll have NFL up. I got a couple games this weekend. College basketball, we're still grinding along. 294 and 261 or something like that. We're about 33 games over 500. Again, not 53%, but we're up about 8 something units there. I
Okay,
think it's plus 890 or something on the sites,
sure.
which is good. Ross, I said today, I go 7-6 yesterday in college basketball. So it's $45, and someone like complained, messaged me, it's like, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, well, you want to send me $45? Like, you're not sending it. Like, don't. I don't know who would want
Man.
$45.
Yeah.
If you don't want $45, please reach out to me. I'll take anybody's $45 they don't want. I don't understand.
Those same people will be the same people who tell you they could hit 60% on their own, you know, because they may have had 2 weeks in a row where they were hot. Anybody could put together, you can get a monkey that could choose games and be 60% for a month, but you'd be hard pressed to find that same monkey going 60% for an entire season. That's all I have to say. And you
That's
could tell us whatever you want to tell us. We've heard it all, okay? But until you put your ass on the line and get documented every day the way we do, and put the same picks on every site that we're on, where everything's consistent across the board, and people can see not only yesterday's plays, but your plays after the game starts, then you could talk to me. We've been doing that for me and Sean for actually 20 plus years now in this business. And, our records speak for itself. Longevity speaks for itself in this business. We've seen a lot of people come and go. So, folks, I could assure you, these handicappers I have with me on this site, Sean Higgs, 60% this year in the NFL with over 160 plays. That's incredible. Okay, and Sean will be the first.
203 if we're getting
203.
specific.
Okay, and Sean will be the first one to tell you that's an extremely tough thing to do. Okay.
Be
guys,
happy with 58. I mean, 58's a monster year.
yeah. Yeah. So, and then when you're doing the volume handicapping, you figure it out, folks. That's even if it's just 60%, right? That means he's 120 and 80 just on 200 plays. And at $100 a game, what are you losing? You're losing another times 10%, $88 on 100. How could I put this? What would be the math on that? 200 would make 20,000, and then you would have to go 8,800 times. You're making a ton of money. Okay, so
sports capping, I'm up. Dime bet will be up over 50,000 $50,001 on sports capping.
There you go. Right there. It speaks the volume. So
even if at $100, it's five. It's it's 5,000.
My dime betters at Sports Memo are only up $1,000 for the year, but you know what? I'll take it. My customers will take it. If you pay me a fee and you're only playing $100 a game, you're still at a profit margin. Most clients that I have, if they get with me, they're not playing $100 a game because I'm not charging $299 for the year kind of thing. So in any event, college basketball for me, Sean. I've been on a nice roll. 9-3 since Saturday.
There you go.
Since November the 17th, 42-29, which is 59%. And also all sports since December 27th. I am 37-22. It's good for 63%. So my clients are happy. Those who are new that bought are happy. I'm asking you, why don't you come and buy from me at rbwins.com and Sean at picksandparleys.net. If you're betting on sports and you want our best plays, the games we bet the most money on, that's what you need to do. These free picks are all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, 90% of the time, these picks don't qualify as a pace selection. And for example, if we have 5 plays that day on a Saturday, it's usually the 6th game that we didn't use that we used for a free play. Now, that's not to say we don't want to win, and there's no exact science because sometimes those plays can go on a very hot streak like you've seen in the past on this channel. Anyway, Sean, anything else you want to bring up? The NFL playoffs last week, 5-1 to the over in the games. We talked about this early in the week. Anything that comes to your attention or you'd like to share with the audience regarding maybe any line movements that have occurred since Tuesday when we talked?
That Cincy line now is 5.5.
Yeah.
And listen, that tells me we're probably going to see a 6, maybe. That's just that questionable offensive linemen are probably out.
Yeah.
Well,
now go ahead.
I was going to say, is that a big deal? I don't know. I mean, Burrow's more experience. He was behind a bad line last year. He gets the ball out fast. I still like Cincy in that spot. Just one of those things where I'm like, you know what? Here's a spot where I get a team at 4.5 at an early number, and it moves the other way. You don't always get, sometimes you don't win the best number. Sometimes you don't lose with the worst number. That's the big line move, I guess I kind of noticed. I mean, that's pretty significant because that was a game I thought would be a 3 at an opener.
Yeah.
By just when they played on Monday night, it was 1.5 Buffalo. So you figure, all right, maybe they're 3 at home.
Yeah. I was asked the same question. Who was I talking to on this show? As a matter of fact, it might have been Doug Upstone yesterday when we were talking, and he said, well, let me ask you a question, Ross. Would you have been shocked if this line opened at 3? And I said, absolutely not. Yeah. And I still think at 3, it would be split 50-50. But at 5.5, now you're going to get a lot of public action going to Cincinnati.
Here comes on Cincy, yep.
Yeah, and you know what? If you look at the numbers, I mean, let me go to the Action Network right now because I find them to be pretty accurate when it comes to betting trends, meaning the amount of money and the amount of wagers bet. And right now, as we speak, 67% of the tickets bet have gone the way of the Cincinnati Bengals. 43, and that's accounted for 43% of the money pool. On the other hand, Buffalo's only had 33% of the tickets wagered on them. but it's accounted for 57% of the money pool, which when you look at the opening line of 4, moving to 5.5, if you're one of those reverse guys, this is a classic example of a reverse line movement, usually indicating sharp money. Now, having said that, it's not a foolproof way to look at things, but it's worth mentioning, right, Sean?
No, I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, and especially at this time of year when there's just a handful of games and people are going to bet them. You can't look at it as like, well, this is going on. Well, I mean, I was out and I saw on TV like, well, so a bettor in Michigan put $330,000 bet down that game. Well, who the heck was it? I mean, was it some just dude who's loaded up, or was it somebody they kind of,
or
people are going to bet?
Mattress Mac looking to make he spends 2 million and he makes 10 million on his mattress business, win or lose.
It's who's putting the money down. And again, when there's 4 games, I'm going to be on a public dog or a favorite. It's like the NCAA tournament comes. I'll bet some smaller mid-major some of the year I'm on whoever, insert team name, and then March comes and they're talking about it on Monday. Like, this is the team you got to look out for. I'm like, you know what? Thank goodness I bet it Sunday when the lines came out because it's moved 2.5 points.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of games. You kind of throw those things out. And, someone tweeted out, and I retweeted, I forgot who it was. I don't have Twitter up in front of me. Just good stuff about like the reverse line movement and kind of stuff, percentage of bets on this way and how to look at things. And it's really like, again, Ross, combined, we got like 50 years doing this. Like we got a long time. So yeah, in the 90s, we could look at something different. In 2000s, I mean, even going back to the 2015 before it started getting legal in other states, we could just kind of look at something fairly easy. And now you can't. You got to throw those kind of things out because of the sheer volume of the betting on it. Everybody, New York, New Jersey coming in to bet heavy on the Giants. Like it's gonna.
It doesn't matter if the Giants are playing, whoever they're playing, they're going to get their fair.
They're going to get the money. Yes, like people in Cincinnati are going to. Local books are going to be on the hook for more, but that skews the whole.
Yep.
You got rich oil guys down here in Texas. They're betting on every Texas football team. Like, oh wow, look at this money coming in on there. Well, we'll get some billionaire guy who's went to A&M or something. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I talked to a couple offshore guys and some pretty good sources at that, and I can't disclose their names because I'd be invading their privacy, and they won't tell me anything anymore. So, but you're going to have to trust me when I say both gentlemen indicated to me the biggest hit they've took in the offshore business since the legalization of sports betting in the United States. It has been the state of New York, which has cost them the most amount of money.
Oh yeah.
So having said that, I'm in Western New York, which is on the opposite side of the state, near Buffalo, and the metropolitan New York area, I'm sure, accounts for a lot of that. And having said that, there's always the homers, especially at playoff time. If you're a Giants fan, are you going to sit and watch a playoff game with your buddies or your family and go for squeeze for the other team? Come on. Yeah, especially when they're an underdog.
You're gonna go out and put put $5 out, 25. Everybody's betting.
No, I'm not saying the Giants aren't going to cover. I'm just saying when you look at things from a realistic standpoint and from our years of experience, which is a large sample size, that's what we think. So.
It's like the NCAA tournament back then. I mean, now it's like, oh, fill out your bracket. I mean, like, oh, here we go. Then you got everybody saying, who are the sleepers? Well, the sleeper's a team I've been betting since November. I kind of liked, I mean, it's not a sleeper to me. But now the cat's out of the bag, and I lost a point of value because they mentioned it on some other channel, and it's like, oh, here we go. I've only been talking about it. Where were we on TV, Ross? We talk about these college teams since November.
Boy, I don't remember. I'm sure that you can come up with an instance, but it's been a long time since I remember a team with the record like Buffalo has right now at 14-3, and her 3 losses came by a combined 8 points. So how close are they to perfection?
Yeah.
Be under such heavy scrutiny. And I hear the words overrated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They only got by Miami last week by 3 as a 14-point favorite. I get that. Okay. And we also discussed on Tuesday how much of a facade the 31 points that Miami scored in that game, because majority of them came all from a short field or a defensive touchdown. But having said that, I mean, let's look at the other side of the coin. If we're going to pick on one team, let's pick on the other. Yeah, Cincinnati is how many wins in a row they got now? 10?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they've been awesome. But last week,
Almost got picked off themselves.
Baltimore was 1 yard from taking the lead in that game with 10 minutes to go, and the kid makes a terrible error by trying to stretch the ball out at the goal line. It gets knocked out of his hands right into a defensive lineman for the Bengals, and he virtually went the rest of the way untouched. It's a 14-point swing, Sean. Yeah. And they're playing against a backup quarterback too. You know what I mean?
And that Ravens defense, bro, they really came to play. They were. I mean, who even?
Yeah, they're tough to run against, right? And that took away Cincinnati's play action passing ability. And like we talked about, Sean, I mean, there's at least 2 starting offensive linemen that are going to be out, from what I understand, and a third is a question mark. But
and now you see the move. Now it's like maybe he's not a question mark now for that to jump up again. So
yeah, so I mean, it's not as easy as it looks. I'm not saying that Cincinnati can't win the game or won't cover. I'm just saying that you have to really look at things from a lot of different angles. Now, we can outthink ourselves too, right, Sean? How many times have we been guilty? I could speak for myself, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, that we get too cute sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, where we just need to simplify. So, in any event, the Giants, that game has pretty much stayed the same. The Bengals, we already touched upon that. And the Cowboys, talk about a team that normally gets a lot of action, right?
Everybody's writing them off.
Yeah, it's San Fran, 60% of the money, and 25% of the, or 60% of the tickets bet on San Fran, only accounting for 25% of the money. Yet that line has come down from its opener of 4.5 to 3.5.
Yeah, and that we saw that early, right? It was open, and we saw some 3.5s, and it went up to 4 a little bit. This all really looks at how you view these teams. Yeah. Is it Dallas's? Well, you beat a bad team, and Dak is still mistake prone. Yeah. I think, do people forget that Dallas? I mean, they started 7-2 with a backup quarterback. You had an OT loss to Green Bay. Again, they should have won in regulation. Same thing at Jacksonville. They take their foot off the gas, they end up losing the game they should have won. A couple bad little stretches. You had the Houston game, Jacksonville, I mentioned, and then Philadelphia against a backup quarterback. So not that the defense looked a little shaky. But before that, this team was like, wow, this is what a defense. If Dak is healthy the whole year, how good would these guys be? I mean, do people forget that? I mean, it's still a rookie quarterback over here for San Fran, who's, let's be honest, you're beating the Arizonas and the Rams and Seattle, who blew up on themselves, right, in the second half last week. I don't know. The last time I saw you play a decent quarterback, I think the Raiders got you, or almost got you. Yeah. And then Mahomes tore you apart. I'm not saying Dak is Mahomes. You want to compare him more to Carr than Mahomes, that's fine. But offensively, Dallas is on that level as opposed to Seattle and the Rams and the teams that these guys have beat up down the stretch. They were pretty at quarterback. I mean, I don't know why and again, I'm a Yankee fan. I gotta bust out my Randy Whiteside helmet up there. I get it. I'm a little biased, but come on. Okay, they're home. They're away again for the 4th straight week. Well, sometimes it's good to be away from distractions. Sometimes it's fine. This is who we are. Another road game. Let's just get it done. We're just, taking names and moving on to the next stop. I'm biased towards my Cowboys. I don't understand the total hate there for them. I mean, this team, I think people forget how good they were rolling along into November.
Yeah. They got overshadowed by the Eagles is what it comes down to, because if they're in any other division, they're either a division winner or they're right there for a division crown.
I said 13 wins or whatever they were in the year, 12-4, whatever they 12-5. I mean, you worry about the Redskins loss? Come on, they didn't even care about the game.
No, there was no urgency there. They weren't going to catch. They weren't going to catch Philadelphia, and they were pretty much locked into the number 5 seed. So, there wasn't a hell of a lot to play for there. Here's the thing too, as I recall, teams that play San Francisco the following week I think there's like 1-15 or one in
Yeah,
something
just
stupid this year. So
definitely not covered.
yeah, so I mean, you like to look ahead and say, okay, this is what I think is going to happen this week, and this is where this number is going to be next week. Um, Obviously, I would have to look in, delve into it much deeper than just throwing out that statistic about how bad you do after playing San Francisco. But from a general common sense standpoint, it stands to reason the 49ers are a very physical team, and they
Yeah.
take a toll on anybody who's has to play the next week after they face them.
And then again, you're adding in your third straight playoff game,
Yep.
possibly against the Eagles, right? Division rival who is going to be coming off their own grinder. So you got to look at that.
Yeah.
Is this Eagle game going to be a blowout or is it going to be a grinder? Maybe the Giants. How about Dallas is home next week and laying a touchdown instead of catching 3? I mean, you that'll be interesting. Again, I don't know how it's. I mean, listen, I'm hoping for a Dallas win and a Giant upset would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then you look at it as I don't know. I think your adrenaline stuff will kind of wear off that kind of stuff because you're facing a team. The good thing with Dallas is here that they're going to be facing a team that they faced twice already, a team they're familiar with because they face them every year, twice a year. So, okay, the physical part is a little
It's
banged up.
tough
I
to
get
beat
it.
they say that it's tough to beat a good team 3 times.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know about that. I mean,
but-
we've heard that, and we've seen them lose too. So
Yeah. This Jaguars and Chiefs game, I personally, I thought the opening line was sort of light.
Yeah,
I expected the Chiefs to be a double-digit favorite to open. Your thoughts? I
well,
mean,
it's up to 9 now. It moved up a little bit, which makes sense. I mean,
yeah, I'm going by the opener though, Sean.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. The bottom line is this is a team they only won by 10 at home against Jacksonville earlier in the year, but I think we've touched upon this several times over the course of the week on this podcast. That was a very deceiving 10-point win because the Chiefs had 486 yards of total offense in that game. And they were plagued by a -3 turnover differential, and they still won by double digits. So I was a little bit surprised at how light this line is, to the point where it almost makes me look and say, "Am I missing something? Are the Jaguars the play?" But I'll have my picks out later today, and I don't know if you have yours out already.
Yeah, mine have been up since Sunday or Monday morning. I've been ready. And the Chiefs game. This was 20-7 at the half, 27-10 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Was it close? And how about Andy Reid? 19 playoff wins, 15 by double digits.
Yeah.
And now you got Lawrence, who's basically, I mean, he's not a rookie for all intents and purposes. He's a rookie quarterback here going into Arrowhead for his first playoff road start.
The only thing I would say about that, yes, there's a discernible difference between the college game and the NFL. Obviously, from a speed standpoint, from a above the neck standpoint. But this guy's played a lot of big games in college. He's been in national championship games. He plays before a full house at Clemson all the time. So I don't think that that's going to be as much a factor as some people may think. Now I may either look prophetic or stupid for saying that, but I think there's above and beyond that point. I think it's the Jacksonville Jaguars defense that needs to really step up if they want to stay in this game, because they could score Jacksonville. And Kansas City, we know they're not the best defensive team. They haven't been, even through this tremendous run.
They put up the points. They put up yards. Thing, Lawrence. So, are we expecting 4 interceptions? No, but can we get 1 or 2?
Yeah,
possibly. And let's not. He's fumbled. He's got 9 lost fumbles on the year. This kid.
Yeah.
So, that could be. That's one of those the old scoop and a score kind of stuff. That's how you go from them going in for a backdoor cover at 27-17 or something, and then it's the other way. Now it's 34. And then you're out of it or something. So.
I will give him credit though, Sean. He showed me a lot of character in the second half last week, not only because they overcame that massive deficit, but he didn't fold the tent. He threw 4 first half interceptions, 3 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
They fell behind 27-0 and he didn't blink. So I give the kid a lot of credit for that. Now, having said that,
was the Chargers too, head coaching staff, not Andy Reid.
Right, exactly. And and that was the Chargers offense and not the Chiefs, even though the Chargers got weapons, but they were missing Mike Williams. I think that hurt them an awful lot more than people were led to believe. Anyway, all right, let's get to the college basketball pick, Sean.
Let's go.
UCLA and Arizona, there's no lines out at the time we're recording this podcast, folks. Before we went on air, it's now 3:45 Eastern time. So before we went on air at 3:30, 3:15-ish, there was no lines. But Ken Pom, who's extremely accurate when it comes to opening lines, has UCLA as a 3-point favorite and the total at 153.
Yep, nothing up. I just did a quick little look there, Ross, and still nothing posted. So,
yep.
So great matchup here, right? We got basically 2 top 10 teams going at it. And listen, UCLA is heading to Big Ten next year. So this is it. This is like your final couple games here, and maybe a March Madness, or they're March Madness, but yes, it is March Madness, but the conference tournament. Wow, I just can't believe they're leaving.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a little tough one for me. I liked Arizona State the other day against UCLA, and they were there, and then UCLA does what a top 5 team does and goes on a 16-2 run and closes this game out. Arizona did what I thought they do, right? They had a bad loss to Oregon. Then they come in and get that taste out of our mouth before this game. I think UCLA's the better team because I think their defense is there, right? It's kind of like the difference maker, but you have 2 lineups with a lot of scoring options, a lot of double-digit scores on both teams. I think each has 4 double-digit kind of scores, so there's a lot of spread the ball. You can't just concentrate on one guy beating you. I'm going to have to lean with the home dog here. I know UCLA's got basically double revenge, but if it was the other way around, if UCLA was maybe like a 1 or a +1 here, something smaller, I'd maybe say, I'll take UCLA here. I don't want to lay the 3. I think Arizona at home, they've had their number to say, hey, we got your number. That's could be on these players' heads themselves. The crowds, come on. It's UCLA, Arizona. It's a top. What are they? What's UCLA ranked? 3, 4? I mean,
yeah, they're both top 10 teams,
right? I mean,
yeah, and in Arizona, I believe it was number 1 at one point this season,
right? I mean, I'll give me some Arizona here. I'm thinking I'm getting a good home dog, which is a live that, and you beat them twice. I tried. We were talking about keep it simple, stupid, right? Not overthinking things. I've got a solid home dog here. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. +3, I'll take it.
Yeah, Arizona +3. And again, we're using the line from Ken Pom. We both found this to be extremely accurate as it applies to opening lines, folks. Now, we are recording well in advance, so keep in mind, this is the line we're using at the time of when we're recording, depending on when.
We're not trying to trick anybody. Like, you're coming in
with
with
these guys. He gave out +3, and they were.
He doesn't even know the line.
It was a pick'em game, Bottom line is we can't control the money where it goes and how that line moves, and that kind of thing. But my point being, folks, like with all of these podcasts, we do them well in advance. We grade our plays on what the line was at the time. Sometimes that works for us. Sometimes it works against us. But I always give the disclaimer out that depending on when you view this video, just keep that in mind, because what we give you as a line might change, and it's not going to be a huge difference, folks. It won't be. In any event, I'm going to take a look at North Carolina and North Carolina State, a big rivalry game. This game will be played in Chapel Hill, and Ken Pom has North Carolina as a 5-point favorite. I looked at both of these teams' schedule, and just based on their non-conference slate, North Carolina has played the 19th strongest schedule in the nation, and NC State 299 they're rated in terms of strength of schedule. Now, also keep in mind, folks, a lot of that disparity comes in the non-conference portion of their schedule. Having said that, okay, North Carolina, Ken Pom ranks every team, and I trust their rankings a hell of a lot more than the people who vote in the polls, because it's analytics based and it encompasses a lot of factors. And North Carolina this year against top 100 opposition has gone 1-5 straight up. Yes, they played a very difficult non-conference schedule, a schedule overall, but when they had to step up in class, they haven't fared well. And their only win came at a neutral site when they beat Ohio State in overtime. So, and then you look at North Carolina State, they played 7 games against top 100 competition. They've gone 5-2, including 5-0 in their last 5. And if you've been watching and following college basketball over the last couple of weeks, you've seen North Carolina State make a really strong push, and you can make a strong case for them vying for ACC championship. And they also come in on a 4-game win streak. 3 of those 4 wins have come over teams ranked in the top 100 by Cape KenPom. I'm going with North Carolina State here, Sean, plus the 5 at North Carolina.
I looked at this game too when you send the list out. I'm like, let me look over this game myself so I could have some thoughts on it. And you mentioned North Carolina against their top 100. Again, Carolina was coming into the year right out of the championship game last year, thought to be the best team. Alabama, they lost to neutral. Iowa State, Alabama's top 5 team. Iowa State's a good team. Indiana's was getting back on track. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, they beat whatever. But then, as I mentioned, NC State, I was like, boy, why is this line at a 5? It looks too good to be true. I mean, we had NC State, I think, last week against Duke here. And I was like, let's take NC State. And it went from like a 2 to a 3 to a 5, and they won by 20 something. I mean, they've won 7 of 8 to 10 games.
Yeah.
And I kind of worry a little bit, like Carolina's beating these guys by 10, 20, and 10 the last 3 times. But you know what? They're not really playing that kind of ball right now. I mean, 5. I don't know. I want to see what this opens at, because I know KenPom's got at 5. I'm interested to see where the odds makers shave it. Like, are they going to put it a little less because NC hasn't been that good? Or will they say, well, recently these guys have beat up the Wolfpack, so let's move it up to 6. I mean, I want to get the points here, though, with NC State. I think the points are to play. I don't want too much, because when it's too much, you know me, I'm thinking, they're trying to trick me there to take the dog. I don't,
Well, I mean, the bottom
first
line
glance,
is,
you have to take them. Like, the teams they played.
I always say, think like an odds maker. Think like a bookmaker, whatever term or phrase you want to attach to that. In doing so, you set this line at 5. And I think with this line at 5, I think a lot of novice people or people who are casual observers of college basketball that like to dabble in once in a while on their own will look at this, and with North Carolina only being a 5-point home favorite. Yep. And I think they're going to flock to the Tar Heels. I mean, I'd be surprised if they weren't the public side tomorrow, but we'll see. We're running short on time, Sean. Always a pleasure, my friend. You'll be back with us next week, 2 or 3 times, I believe. So we'll discuss that later in the week. But always, I really appreciate you spending the time with us. You're a wealth of information, and you're an extremely knowledgeable sports handicapper, successful. And
listen, I'm coming on either way. You don't gotta pump me up a little bit. I get it.
No. Never hurts to kiss some ass. But a delight to work with, and I mean that sincerely. So
thanks, Ross.
Until the next time, folks. For Sean Higgs and his biggest fan, Ross Benjamin, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.